very beautiful. Thank you. We will begin the ceremony with the ringing of the bell. Good morning and happy Bodhi Day. I would like to welcome all of you to the 2023 Bodhi Day celebration, sponsored by the Hawaii Buddhist Council. Today's celebration is hosted by the Nichiren Sect Mission of Hawaii and Soto Mission of Hawaii. This morning, we are delighted to have the Honpa Hongwanji Hawaii Betsuing Choir under the direction of Miss Mari Murakami, accompanied by pianist Mr. Francis Okano and additional pianist Mr. Douglas Cook. At this time, the bishops will enter the temple. Please rise if you are able. Today's Bodhi Day service will be officiated by Bishop Shokai Kanai of the Nichiren Sect Mission of Hawaii. Introducing Higashi Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii, Bishop Kenjun Kawawata. Honpa Hongwanji Hawaii Betsuin, Bishop Toshiyuki Umitani. Bishop Kosen Ishikawa. Koyasan Shingon Mission of Hawaii, Bishop Clark Watanabe. Soto Mission of Hawaii, Bishop Shugen Komagata, who is on stage. Tetai Mission of Hawaii, Bishop Shojun Tanaka. Nichiren Mission of Hawaii, Bishop Shokai Kanai. Thank you. Please be seated. Once again, good morning everyone and happy Bodhi Day. My name is Myokei Caine from the Nichiren Sect Mission of Hawaii, your MC this morning. Siddhartha Gautama was born almost 2,600 years ago in Lumbini Garden at the foothills of the Himalayas bordering present-day Nepal and India. The prince who would later become the enlightened Buddha shared his teachings of love, mercy, and compassion to lead people from suffering and sorrow to peace and happiness. His message resonates loudly around the world to this day. Here in Hawaii, we gather to celebrate his attainment of enlightenment and the birth of our spirituality. At this time, Representatives of the Hawaii Buddhist Council temples will offer flowers and incense. Representing Higashi Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii is Mr. Shigeru Numano and Ms. Sandy Kushikuma. Representing Hompa Hongwanji Hawaii Betsuin is David Atchison and Dogen Baba. Representing Jodo Mission of Hawaii is Ms. Sally Hayashi and Ms. Sally Ishikawa. Representing Nichiren Mission of Hawaii, Ms. Charlotina Cook and Mr. Leo Cook. Representing Koyasan Shingon Mission of Hawaii, Mrs. Alice Watanabe. Representing Soto Mission of Hawaii is Keiko Kawagishi and Warren Wild. Representing Tendai Mission of Hawaii, Mrs. Ai Kawabata and Mr. Justin Kawabata. Thank you all for your offerings. Now at this time, I kindly ask you to please rise if you are able and join Reverend Shogo Kini of the Nichiren Sect Mission of Hawaii as he leads us in the singing of Gatha, Bandana, and Tisarana on page 2 of today's program.
Sa
you, Reverend Kini. Please be seated. Bishop Shokai Kanai of the Nichiren Sect Mission of Hawaii will lead us in the chanting from page 4 of today's program. I call upon the volunteers of the Hawaii Buddhist Council to begin the collection. The offertory bowl will be passed through the pews. This year, offered to the Maui Fire Disaster Relief Fund. Thank you very much for your generous monetary donation. Bishops from the Hawaii Buddhist Council temples will offer incense. Higashi Myoken-ji, Mission of Hawaii, Bishop Kenjun Kawawata. Higashi Myoken-ji, Mission of Hawaii, Bishop Kenjun Kawawata.
大水をぶつかいまんなご本 うやむやしく幾道に独自しとてまつる大乗行連議書その功徳をもっては本日ハワイ仏教連盟相続一体となりつつ尊浄土へをくしとてまつるそして本見るには即尊のご本の所得の法義を捧げ温暖の一人一国に一礼一しとてまつるそして門見るに菩薩本行の諸行は実法崩壊に十万し仏地過小の利得は愛知義天に変満し常に自らこの念をなす何をもってかし同行して無浄土に入り速やかに仏心を成就することを得て四面との非論休息することなり時を感じ記憶し方言胸永遠うちに柔軟憲法の密議をしいてまする本日ここにうやむやしく法義を捧げ温暖の一輪会議の一的に仕立てまつる願わくはこの功徳をもって甘けく一切に及ばし思いと往生でさらにこの功徳をもっては悪意とラハイナーにおいて尊い命をなくされた方が通り仏家同心水伝供養南無釈迦牟尼仏南無妙法蓮華経南無妙法蓮華経
At this time, the bishops will make their way out of the temple. Please rise if you are able to. Thank you all. Please be seated. Now, Bishop Shokai Kanai of the Nichiren Sect Mission of Hawaii and President of the Hawaii Buddhist Council for the 2023-2025 term will deliver today's welcome message. Bishop?
Aloha! I deeply appreciate your participation. This morning, we are celebrating a human being named Siddhartha Gautama, who attained enlightenment and became Buddha Shakyamuni. On this occasion, we also pray for those who perished in the great wild mountain fire in Lahaina on August 8th. I place Toba, this is called Toba, in memory for them and pray for them every morning. Thank you very much for your offering for quick recovery from the fire. Last Sunday, I was invited to the 50th anniversary of Tendai Mission Hawaii as the president of Hawaii Buddhist Council. During the ceremony, Tendai in Japan made 2 donations toward helping 3 Japanese Buddhist temples and burned to the ground. One of the donation is from Ichigukai. And also the other one is Bishop Bodhi standing in Monteki. So I will place this donation from Tendai in Japan to the you witness. Don't do it. Mahalo. Thank you, Tendai.
Thank you, Bishop Kanai. Now, our guest speaker today is Bishop Myokei Caine-Barrett. Myokei Caine-Barrett Shonin was the first American woman and the first person of African Japanese descent to receive full ordination as a Nichiren priest. Today, she is the bishop of the Nichiren Shu Buddhist Order of North America, the first woman and Westerner to hold this position. Based in Houston, she is the guiding teacher of Myoken-ji Temple. She recently became one of 3 Westerners to complete Aragyo, ascetic practice, at Saijo Inari in Okayama, Japan. Myokei Shonin supports 3 prison sanghas within the Texas Department of Criminal Justice System. She is also a fellow with Interfaith America, working on interfaith dialogue between Buddhists and Muslims behind bars. Please join me in welcoming Myokei Caine-Barrett Shonin. Mahalo.
Good morning. It's great to be here with you. It's one of my most favorite places on earth to visit. Definitely on earth. So when I was asked to talk about women in Buddhism, it really brought to mind many of the jokes I share with my brother priests, especially when I learned early that the first people who took refuge in Buddhism in Japan were 3 women. And I thought, well, let women do something at least. And I thought I would often joke with them that it was a time that they probably thought it was harmless because these were disposable people. Imagine my surprise to learn that during that time in Japan, considered ancient to medieval time, that women and men were considered equals. So I was quite shocked to learn that. And it was not until the beginning of the Heian era that women lost their status. But we're going to go back just a bit, because one of the things that is notable is that when Shakyamuni was alive, he allowed women to come into the community. He was hesitant at first, and Ananda convinced him. But I also believe fundamentally, just my personal opinion, that, and I've heard this from some others, that his major concern was not the fact that women couldn't handle it or were unable to achieve awakening, but was the management of the community, the sangha, because of men and women together, how is he going to manage that? So in a compromise, there were 8 rules that were given to women that they had to follow. I'm going to share them with you. In the presence of monks, a woman must request to become a nun. In the presence of monks, a woman must request instruction every half month. no nun may spend rainy season in a place where monks are not present. And after rainy season, a nun must have both nuns and monk perform a rainy season ceremony for her with reference to seeing, hearing, or having suspicion of her faults. Doesn't sound too good, does it? It's also forbidden for a nun to accuse or warn a monk about his transgressions, values, conduct, or livelihood. However, the same restriction does not apply to monks. A nun should not scold or be angry with a monk. And when a nun violates the rules, penance must be performed every half month. So the last one is that a nun of 100 years of age shall perform the correct duties to a monk, even if he's only been a monk for a day. So imagine that. Some of these monks were children. So I tend to think this was a compromise, a way to get some of the men to accept that women were going to be present. But there was no prohibition at that time that women could not achieve arhatship, because they were not talking about enlightenment in the same sense back then. So it wasn't until about 1,000 years after Shakyamuni's death that we find the, the coalescence of misogynistic dogma. Because we have these cultures, India, Japan, China, where women are not perceived as the same as men, not having the same qualities as men. So there's a term that was coined called henjo nanshi, that a woman cannot achieve spiritual salvation unless she turns herself into a man, either literally before a public gathering as proof of her transformation, or symbolically by becoming a nun and renouncing the secular world. So that's when that started. But it was not a problem in Japan until the Heian era, which started at about 794 up until just before the Kamakura era. And Buddhism had by that time become the state religion. And so because of that, there was jockeying for different powers and abilities. And these were largely duties that men assumed, and they were taken away from women gradually. One of the things that we noticed that opportunities for women to have formal ordination started to disappear. And interestingly enough, as I read it, Tendai and Shingon required that their people who were seeking ordination perform a regimen of ascetic practices, what we call Aragyo today. And that's what led to a greater disappearance of women from the clergy, because women could not participate in these ascetic practices. So convents began to close or were converted into monasteries, and women were increasingly ostracized as being impure, especially because of the natural cycles of menstruation and pregnancy. And so women in the aristocracy didn't go lightly away from seeking ordination. They just did it themselves. They cloistered themselves in convents, and they continued to practice Buddhism and continued their support of Buddhism. But the thing is that for most of us, we'd like to know who these women were, but it's hard to find any information because the women are largely known as the wife of so-and-so or the mother of so-and-so. They're not referred to by their own names. But there are many different things that I was not aware of that women kept their names even after they were married at that time. And they were also, in spite of that, regarded as an appendage to their husbands. Women also at that time were thought to be unable to attain enlightenment at all. Because number one, they had 5 obstacles. They could not become Heavenly King Brahman, could not become Heavenly King Sakra, could not become Devil King Mao, could not become a wheel-turning Holy King, could not assume the body of a Buddha. So we're just out of luck. The other thing was, based on Confucian teachings, was that women had 3 obstacles or obediences or obligations. And the first was to her parents when she was a child. The second was to her husband, and the third was to her eldest son. I didn't believe that at first, but when I was in the monastery, one of the women that was in my cohort was there because her son asked her to become a priest, and she was in her 70s. Not much interested in becoming a priest, but because her son asked, she did. There were women there who were also becoming priests because their fathers needed support and they had no brothers. So this type of thing is still going on. But I would argue that it's not something that we should blame anyone for. It's because they're cultural baggages, if you will, that we are accustomed to, that we don't even think about them. That this is a kind of conditioning that we've been exposed to most of our lives, so that we hardly even come to think, well, that's not such a way to live. But one of the things that I've noticed in studying the issue of women, in particular from the Nichiren Shu perspective, I'm not a scholar, this is the thing I have to do to help convey the Dharma and the doctrines of our school as I know them, was to study what the Lotus Sutra had to say about women, as well as what Nichiren Shonin did to interpret how these restrictions against women were invalid in the face of the teachings of the Lotus Sutra. And most of his followers were not part of the aristocracy. They were ordinary folks, community people from the villages, very much dedicated to him. He did have a significant number of upper-level followers who were able to protect him and give him comfort and protection. So some of his letters are directed towards these people and how to keep them practicing, how to encourage them. It's notable that most people outside of the school tend to think of Nichiren Shonin as a radical revolutionary, that he hated Zen and he hated Jodo, all of those things. But I would also tend to argue that in today's world and where we live, that he would have a very different attitude about how we should be working together. Because it was so important to him that he would alleviate the suffering of ordinary people. That was a primary reason that he became a priest. The primary reason that he constantly studied and traveled to learn as much as he could, because he felt that for so many different schools to exist, why was it that people continued to suffer? And he was determined that he was going to do everything possible that he could to ensure that people could achieve a relief from suffering. And he lived and worked among the people. And one of the things we notice is that a significant portion of the letters that we have today are written to women. And there are many examples that people have taken out of context to use against women. He has written in one of his letters that in studying, he would not want to come back as a woman. No way in the world would he want to be a woman. And also that a woman and thereby cause others to follow them. So not suggesting that a woman should lead, but should always follow. Excuse me. He also talked about the woman's mind was weak. And these were some of the things that came to him through the cultural norms that were present at the time. Instead, he was able to say to his followers that the single utterance of the word myo was enough to break the bonds of the 5 hindrances and the 3 obstacles by that simple chanting of myo. And through that also, that a woman was able to transform and become first to achieve her awakening. The story of the Dragon King's daughter in chapter 12 is one of the most famous stories that circulates in Buddhism about women. But today, still, in a lot of the Asian countries in particular, they support the interpretation of the story that female must become a man. And most of you are probably aware of the story, but if not, I'll recant it very briefly. That as the Buddha was gathered with his followers, he asked, who in this land would you recommend to be enlightened? And it was an 8-year-old Dragon King's daughter, not even a human. And the child did that. And she came up and handed the Buddha a precious jewel, which he accepted immediately. And the disciples questioned why was she qualified to become enlightened, which was a girl. And we all knew that women could not achieve awakening. So for these people, she immediately became a bodhisattva as a man, and then became a Buddha, and then reverted back to her Dragon King's daughter self. People still interpret that this is what must happen, without regard for what was the moment that her enlightenment occurred. And we tend to think that it happened when she gave the Buddha her jewel, and he accepted it. Very precious jewel. That this was the moment that her enlightenment was revealed and guaranteed. And so Nichiren Shonin said to his female followers, she didn't do this alone. She did this for all women, which indicates that all women first can become enlightened. There are many different quotes that he does used to counter. He says that women are despised in both the Buddhist and non-Buddhist scriptures, and yet in the case of the Lotus Sutra, even though they neither read nor copy the text, women who receive and uphold it in body, mouth, and mind, and in particular who chant Yodaimoku with their mouths, will be able to attain Buddhahood readily, as did the Dragon King's daughter, Gautami and Yasodhara, who lived at the time of the Buddha. He goes on to say that do not these interpretations make clear that among all the teachings of the Buddha's lifetime, the Lotus Sutra is first, and that among the teachings of the Lotus Sutra, that of women attaining Buddhahood is first. For this reason, though the women of Japan may be condemned in all sutras other than the Lotus Sutra as incapable of attaining Buddhahood, as long as the Lotus Sutra guarantees their enlightenment, what reason have they to be downcast? So he's always encouraging women to not think in terms of what has been said before, but to recognize that the sutra they practice guarantees their enlightenment. Now this was something for me that really hit home, because when I first shaved my head, the thing I encountered the most was being called a man all the time. Every place I went, people would say, "Can I help you, sir?" I don't look like a man. I don't feel like a man. And it's constant, even today, still. What is it about me that is so unfeminine that people don't recognize that I'm a female? And it's a bald head, right? Shaved head, and the nondescript clothing that we tend to wear. And it occurred to me that that's exactly why nuns today in other traditions are in such a downtrodden state, because they don't tend to rebel against them. And it's something I think that's important for women to do, is to be able to stand up and say, I don't have to do it this way. There's a great deal of controversy today still about the ordination of women. I think we're really fortunate in our traditions that welcome us and support us and encourage us to continue. Some of the others, I've met many women. We had a visit yesterday with Alexia Sakyadita. I don't know if many of you know her. But I have traveled to India and Malaysia and Hong Kong with them. And going to India and witnessing the status of women was life-changing. At the time that I went in 2011, I don't know if some of you remember the young woman that was attacked on the bus with her boyfriend and sexually assaulted. And she was flown to Singapore for medical treatment, but she died. We came to India at that time, and there were 1,000 of us, 1,000 women from all over the world. And it was quite a thrilling experience to be in Vaishali and walk the spaces where the Buddha had lived previously. And we were surrounded by armed guards most of the time. And as we traveled throughout India, one of the things most of us noticed that you hardly saw any women out in the street. And we'd come to the airport and plane, and there were no women there. And all of the shops, all of the hotels, the housekeeping staff was all male. So it was just an odd experience to be in that environment. And I felt uncomfortable, because I didn't know if I was going to be safe, because I was so worried about our safety. And it wasn't until we arrived in Nepal that we saw women openly working and participating as members of society. And so it's something that has to be challenged in a way that doesn't blame anyone, because again, it is our culture and has been our culture forever, that women are not perceived to have the strength or capability of leading, of directing, of making new inroads, and we're doing it every day. The greatest number of entrepreneurs out there today are women. The greatest supporters of religious activity are women. And you see that everywhere. I don't care what religious tradition it is. Women are the strongest supporters, in spite of their inability to advance as a profession in their religious practices and their faith. I was astonished. I'm part of a group known as the Garden Initiative. And our little cohort of 6 women are the only Buddhists. All the rest are Christians or Muslims. And all of these women's stories about what happens to them in their religious communities are just frightening, and how they're disregarded. So I'm very happy to be a Buddhist, very happy to be a part of Japanese Buddhism, because it's just not like that. And we have opportunity. And the point is that women show their strengths in different ways from men, and they have to be recognized as being strong in their own right. one of the things I've learned from my time in the monastery is that Japanese women are extremely tough, and they're so quiet about it. Whereas here in the West, the women would be ready to help. The Japanese women were very quiet about it and just continued no matter what. I also learned a great deal about my own mother, who came to the States as a war bride. So in the monastery, I do not speak Japanese. I can talk baby talk and bad words. Because that's what you learn as a kid. And so I was the only one there who didn't speak fluent Japanese. So I had a dictionary and I would try to communicate that way. But it was the loneliest experience of my life. And towards the end of it, I started to really understand this was my mother's experience coming to America as a war bride at a time where she was hated. And all of the memories I had of growing up on military bases and hearing the things they would say to my mother came back to me. And that's when I really, really learned to treasure my mother. And I'm so grateful that it was Buddhism that led me to that. Because I didn't get that from my father, even though he loved my mother dearly. His idea of what women should be capable of doing was that she should be the best wife, the best cook, the best of everything that was womanly. So I was raised with the notion that I was going to be the best wife we could raise for whatever man he was going to marry eventually, because no man should ever suffer the misery of having an incapable wife as he did. So, and I was pretty old when that happened in terms of understanding my mother's role. And so the greatest gift out of that was that we are now like that. We travel together, we do lots of stuff together. And for a person who vowed she would never set foot in a temple, she came to my graduation, and she calls on occasion to ask me for my priesthood advice that I should not share with anyone. But she's calling me as her priest. So that's a remarkable change. So I think for all of us is to challenge the cultural norms that we've been given. Reasons that we dislike people. I have a member of my sangha who's Chinese, and she said, you know, I grew up hating Japanese people and then black people also. So now my sensei is exposed. So I have to deal with that. And so we're there for each other in ways that are very mysterious and unknown. And we come into each other's lives for, as they say, a time, a reason, or a season. And it's so important for all of us to walk together. Nichiren Shu always said that it's more important for 1,000 people to take one step than a single person to take 1,000 steps, because we can't do it alone. In the state of our world today, you know, it seems in so many ways we're living in a time where we're still lucky. We still have our health for the most part. We're still living in a good economy. There's hatred everywhere. There's separation everywhere. And women, I think we can take it again. So I will try to help our brothers learn the ways in which they've been hindered by what they've been taught, because we also have been hindered by those thoughts. We've also been taught that we're incapable, and that we have a path that we can only walk a certain way. So designed for you all to jump in and have fun, find your true self in your Dharma practices. Then you will, as they say, experience extreme joy from the Dharma. And that's what we're after, isn't it? I know I've strayed a bit, but I hope I've covered some of what you needed to hear today. And I thank you for your warm welcome. Hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Myokei Shonin, for your very heartfelt Dharma talk. As you know, today's theme is Buddhism and women. However, there are many things we know, many things we do not know, and many things we have yet to encounter and know. However, we can honor the past traditions by having compassion in the present to change the future. There are many beautiful changes, each possible in our own hands. And in this era, we are fortunate for two reasons. First, we have the equal teachings of the Buddha, and second, we have our ministers who have dedicated their lives to ensuring that we know the Buddha and the message conveyed to us, which is to live a peaceful, happy, and compassionate, loving life. Thank you all very much, and thank you, Myokei Shonin, for your guidance and showing us the way. Now, please rise if you are able and join the Myoken-ji Hawaii Betsuin Choir in singing the Gata, Jodo e no Uta, on pages 10 and 11 of today's program.
Today, we have come together to celebrate Prince Siddhartha Gautama's attainment of enlightenment. After a long hardship, Siddhartha Gautama became the Samadhi, the Buddha, the fully awakened one. This day is called Bodhi Day here in Hawaii. It is important, though, to understand the fact that Siddhartha Gautama's becoming a Buddha means that every human being can become a Buddha. Our various traditions emphasize that every sentient being has Buddha nature within him or within her. A Buddha and an ordinary person are ultimately the same by nature. The only difference is that the degree to which spiritual awakening has been realized. A Buddha has attained perfect wisdom, but we have not yet attained it. But we are all potential Buddha. That means we can become a Buddha. But let us remember, however, that attaining perfect wisdom is a great gradual process. We certainly don't expect to become a Buddha overnight. If we can practice the Buddha's teaching daily with total devotion and without expectations, we will begin to comprehend that, like Siddhartha Gautama, we can do it too. Let us practice the teaching of the Buddha not only this day, but every day of our life with firm conviction and faith that we are Buddhists. And as an individual, we should be proud to say, I am a Buddhist. Thank you everyone for your attendance this morning. Your participation here is what makes this occasion a very special occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Komagata. Now we are near the end of today's celebration. I take this opportunity to thank the bishops and ministers for taking part in Bodhi Day 2023, and thank you, everyone. Thank you to the representatives of the Hawaii Buddhist Council Temples for offering flowers and incense. Thank you, Kini Sensei, for leading us in singing Bandana and Tisarana. Thank you, Bishop Kanai, for leading us in today's sutra chanting. Thank you to the Hawaii Buddhist Council members for collecting the generous monetary donations. Thank you, Bishop Kanai, for your welcome message. Thank you, Bishop Komagata, for delivering the benediction. Thank you, Humpa Hongwanji Kauai Betsu and choir members, choir director Ms. Mari Murakami, and pianist Francis Okano, as well as accompanying pianist Douglas Cook, for singing the prelude and today's gata, Jodoe no Uta. The music was truly magnificent, and thank you for adding a splash of color to today's celebration through music. As shared earlier, the Hawaii Buddhist Council will donate 100% of the offertory collected today to the Maui Fire Disaster Relief Fund. Thank you all very much. We are currently still accepting generous donations toward this relief fund. This concludes Bodhi Day 2023 celebration. Please go downstairs if you can to the social hall for some light refreshments. Let's get together on Buddha's Enlightenment Day. And as a reminder, please watch your step when going down to the social hall. The elevator is located on the Myokei side of the temple, so that'll be on the right-hand side as you progress to the stairs. Restrooms are also in the social hall as you make your way down the stairs or the elevator. Should you need any assistance, please do not hesitate to ask. And once again, thank you all for coming today and being a part of Bodhi Day 2023. We look forward to seeing you all at Buddha's birthday Hanamatsuri celebration in April 2024. On behalf of the Hawaii Buddhist Council and the bishops and ministers of each denomination, thank you very much. Take care, drive safely, and have a nice day. Thank you.